Who's your next witness?
I would call January Hawk. Thank you. Ms. Hawk, what is your role in this case?
I work for the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe ICWA department, which helps our enrolled members of our sovereign nation with regards to children being taken away.
Okay, let me slow down just a bit. You work for what Indian nation or tribe?
Crow Creek Sioux.
Okay, and are you familiar in your position with Charlie and Sarome Yan and their child Saros Yan?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with them?
Based off the reports that we received last year, Ms. Yan had reached out to our ICWA director with assistance in retrieving while we're unified with her children. I became involved with it because Charlie had reached out to me. I think it was via text for assistance. So I've just been corresponding with her back and forth.
And are you a regular caseworker in these kind of situations involving ICWA?
Yes.
And you've done more than just this case?
Yes.
Are you an expert in ICWA and the placement of children under the ICWA laws?
Yes.
Have you visited with Miss Yan on a number of occasions?
Just through text messages or over the phone.
Okay. Have you visited with Mr. Yan?
No, I've never spoken to him before.
And which parent is a member of the Crow Creek Sioux Indian Nation?
Miss Yan.
And what was her request to the nation when she reached out to you?
To help get her children back.
And what have you done to try to do that?
Well, we try to gather as much information as possible through the motion to intervene, which gives us the privilege to read all the reports, which I have gotten. And from there, we base our decision off what's in the best interest of the children and their safety.
Have you, from the Indian Nation's viewpoint, made a decision concerning the children, or this child, excuse me, Saros?
I have consulted with our chairman of our tribe. He has seen all the reports. We are in favor of, again, what's in the best interest of the child and their safety. So if that is with the parents, we are in favor of that. If it is not in favor of the parents, then that is the decision.
And do you have an opinion as to what's in the best interest of Saros at this time?
At this time,
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Was she qualified as an expert, or is she just giving her own opinion? Mr. Alvey?
I mean, Mr. Alley, are you asking to tender her as an expert at this time?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay,
All right.
I don't have an objection.
Let me just ask you real quickly. Ms. Hawk, have you been deemed an expert in other court proceedings as an expert from the tribe?
if they reach out to us, yes, but we don't get too many cases with these circumstances. So,
Right. But have you testified in court proceedings before regarding an Indian child?
yes,
Okay, and it is your belief that Saros Yan is an Indian child as is defined by ICWA,
yes, the child is enrolled with our tribe.
right? All right, so Mr. Abbey, you tendering her as an expert then?
Yes.
Okay, I think Ms. Sapien said no objection to that. Ms. Stevens?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Jackson?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Hawk, then you have been deemed an expert from the tribe, and you may testify as to your opinions and about the tribe's position with respect to the child.
With respect to the child, again, as I mentioned, I've been consulting and seeking the advice of our chairman, who is the leader of our reservation, and what his thoughts are in this case. He said at the end of the day, it is in the best interest of the children and their safety. And if that isn't going to be with the parents, then place them with someone who does have their best interest and safety.
Have you looked at the evidence that's been presented in all the reports concerning whether or not it would be dangerous for the child to be returned to the parents?
I have, yes.
And
I was sent over the file.
do you have an opinion as to what that evidence shows?
A continued cycle of intimidation, verbal, physical. Any which way you can break a person down, that's what I see in here. And again, that's physically, emotionally, verbally, spiritually, financially, is what I see in these records.
Is it your expert opinion that returning the child to the custody of these parents would be detrimental to Soros?
Yes.
Do you believe that beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
Pass witness.
All right, let me just double check. Ms. Taylor, I was grasping to hear part of her answer. Did you get everything?
I did, yes. She was getting a lot sicker off and on, but I got it.
Okay, great. All right. All right, Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Hawk, your testimony, I just want to confirm, is that the tribe will be satisfied with whichever way the judge decides to rule. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, and Ms. Stevens?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Jackson?
Thank you. Ms. Hawk, have you had an occasion to observe Soros in her current setting?
I have not. I have not met the child at all.
Have you had an occasion to meet or speak with foster care?
I have not.
Okay. Would you agree that I think it's been the tribe's position, has it not, that it would be in the best interest for both of the kids, these two siblings, to remain together wherever they're placed? Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, the tribe does agree on that.
Okay. And I want to make sure that I got all this down. It was your testimony, I believe, that you indicated that from what you've gathered from the evidence, that there was a continued cycle of verbal, physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual intimidation. Was that correct? Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And ma'am, just in wrapping things up, are you a member of the tribe for which you represent in this trial today?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, this isn't a question, it's just an observation, but you have the most awesome Native American name I've ever heard.
Thank you.
And with that, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
May I please second the fact that she has the most awesome name?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Curiosity, Ms. Hawk, where's the headquarters of the tribe?
Located on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation. We are right next to the Missouri River. So we would be 20 miles north of Chamberlain, South Dakota.
Okay, but you're in South Dakota.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right. Okay, any further questions, Mr. Alvey, for Ms. Hawk?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anybody have anything else? Because I'm going to release her unless she wants to remain, which certainly she's welcome to.
No, Your Honor.
No
No.
questions.
All right, so Ms. Hawk, I'm assuming you probably wish to remain
Yes,
in
Your
the
Honor.
proceeding. Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Alvey, who's up next?
That's all, Your Honor. We rest.
Okay. Ms. Sapien, you plan to call your client?
I believe so, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Judge.
Would you talk to Ms. Jan, and I can put you in a breakout room, or if you can call her or whatever, but I'm going to admonish her. Ms. Jan, you've been putting things in the chat feature that are not you shouldn't be commenting or putting things in there like that. So if you need to speak with your attorney, let me know. Okay.
Oh,
I have advised her, Judge. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to call Brian Hargrave.
Can you hear me?
Yes. All right. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Brian, how old are you?
I'm 33.
And how are you currently employed?
I'm employed as a caregiver for Miss Charlie Ann
Okay. How long have you been in that role for Miss Yan?
since March 7th.
Are you being paid as a caretaker?
Yes, ma'am, through CDS of Texas.
How much are you making an hour through CDS?
I think it's 12.26.
And so what are your daily tasks with Miss Yan?
I help clean up the house. I sweep. I mop. About early enough in the morning, I make sure there's coffee made. I do some maintenance work outside if she needs it. I transfer her from the bed to a wheelchair if they need help with that.
Okay. And what is the proximity from your home to Miss Yan's home?
I'm right next door.
So a couple steps?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is this something you do every day?
Yes, ma'am. 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening.
If something happens during those 4 hours that you're not there, would you be available?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other employment besides that?
No, ma'am.
How else do you get income?
I get survivor's benefits. My dad became disabled before he passed away, so I'm classified as a disabled child of a disabled parent.
And so that's how you're able to maintain your life.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any physical disabilities that prevent you from moving around, Mr. Hargrave?
Rheumatoid arthritis, but it only flares up that bad every once in a while.
Okay, but you're able to get around and pick things up.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Sorry, Mr. Alley.
Thank you. Mr. Hargrave, have you talked with anybody from St. Francis Ministries or Child Protective Services concerning your role as caregiver for Miss Yan?
No, sir.
Has anybody from St. Francis Ministries or Department of Family and Protective Services done a background check on you?
No, sir.
Is anybody from Child Protective Services, Department of Family and Protective Services, or St. Francis Ministries had any conversations with you about your role as a caregiver?
About my role as caregiver? No, sir.
And how long have you been, and I know you testified to this and I just missed it, how long have you been Miss Yan's caregiver?
Since March 7th of this year.
And how did you become a caregiver for Miss Yan? What was it, through some sort of agency?
The application process was through CDS in Texas.
And I'm assuming then that you don't have any criminal background?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. I'll pass the witness, Sean.
Mr. Hargrave, what agency was it you said you did your application through?
CDS in Texas.
CD?
Yes, Consumer Directed Services.
Okay. And is that, I want to just clarify, did you apply for work through that, or is that something that Ms. Yan put an application in?
Ms. Yan gave me the application, but I filled it out through her, and she sent it to them for the background check and to get her approved for services.
Okay. Did they run a background check on you?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
All right. Okay, Ms. Stevens, any questions?
Just one. Mr. Hargrave, you said you are a disabled child of a disabled parent. What is your disability?
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay, and that's it?
Yes, I had it since I was 12.
Do you take medication to keep the pain down?
Well, right now I'm on Melacoxum, but I'm
Okay.
working on getting that changed.
Okay, but you're able to function?
Yes, ma'am.
And what exactly do you do? Do you help her cook?
I haven't got to that point yet, so not yet.
Okay, what do you help her do?
I help her clean the house, sweep, mop, make the bed, do the laundry, take care of the dogs.
Okay.
I do maintenance around the house when and if needed.
Okay. But Miss Yan's able to cook for herself, so you don't need to help with that?
In the mornings, the other caregiver is there to cook for her.
Okay. And what about bathing and dressing? Does Miss Yan, is she able to do that, or do y'all help?
If she needs it, I help transfer her from her wheelchair to the shower chair. But out of respect to her being married, I refuse to see her that way. So I let the other caregiver and her husband take care of that.
Wonderful. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. First off, Mr. Hargrove, thank you for the work that you do. I'm sure that you're appreciated. How long, you said you live next door to Miss Yan, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived next door to her? Can you testify to that?
Since the beginning of February.
Okay. Okay. And when you say beginning of February, are you referring to 2023?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Sapien, any further questions?
I do not have any further questions, and I'd ask that he be released, Your Honor.
I have a couple of questions, Your Honor.
Sure.
Mr. Hargrave, do you have children of your own?
No, sir, I do not.
Have you been involved in raising children in any form?
I helped my adopted mom raise my nephew.
Okay. And how much older are you than your nephew?
When I helped raise him, he was about 5.
Okay. And have you met Saros Charles?
Not yet, no, sir.
Do you have any experience in raising or helping to raise a 3-year-old child?
No,
I'm going
sir,
to
not
object
yet.
to relevancy. Mr. Hargrave is not a caretaker to the child. He's Charlie's caretaker to get her to the wheelchair and help her how she needs it.
I'll overrule it. I think the question goes as to if the child was in the home, so.
Correct.
No,
so-
sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, does anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Hargrave?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Hargrove, Mr. Hargrove, are you aware of any needs, any physical or emotional needs of Saros Yan?
No, sir, I am not.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody have anything further?
No, ma'am.
All right, is Mr. Hargrave free to leave at this time? He may have something better to do.
No objections, Your Honor.
No
No
objection.
objection.
Okay, Mr. Hargrave, you are free to leave at this time. Thank you very much for your patience today. I appreciate it, sir, and have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I'll call Charlie Yan. Thank you. Charlie, don't forget to unmute. And I just want to remind you that the court reporter can only hear one of us at a time, so we cannot talk at the same time, okay? You have to answer out loud.
Okay,
You're
let's
still
get her
muted.
unmuted. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. Since we just heard from Brian, I want to ask you a little bit about your caretakers, okay?
Yes.
How many, do you have a caretaker right now?
Yes, ma'am.
How many caretakers do you have?
2, including my husband.
So 2 plus your husband or only 2 with your husband?
Well, 2 on payroll, and my husband also helps as well.
Okay, who are your caretakers on payroll?
Brian Hargrave and Irma Bella.
I don't know if you broke up anywhere else, but on mine I didn't hear you. Who are they?
Brian Hargrave and Irma Bella. And I'm currently,
And you said they're on
go ahead.
you said they're on payroll. What does that mean?
They are actually hired. Their background came back good for them to be able to work for me. And they get paid.
What did you hire them through?
Oh, excuse me.
What service did you hire them through?
CDS of Texas.
Okay, and what does CDS do?
They're just my payroll.
Is it a service because you're disabled?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and does it allow for you to pay for caretakers?
Yes, ma'am.
We heard what Brian does for you. What type of tasks does Irma assist with?
She comes in and she helps my husband with getting me dressed and transferred into my chair. She cooks, cleans, gives me showers, and does shopping. And she sits in with helping me care for my children.
Your
Okay,
Honor, I'm so sorry.
we're getting some feedback. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. Mr. You and Miss Young clearly separated.
Is the
Yes.
caregiver with her?
He logged out.
Charlie, are you and Mr. Yan in the same room?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna
Honey,
need to get you guys farther apart.
or go to the truck.
Just if you can get in separate rooms, even typically will take care of it. You may have to close the door or something, but okay, let's try again.
Okay. Ms. Yan, so CDS helps you pay for your caretakers. What other types of services and assistance do you receive?
Just my caretaking.
Okay. What about your housing? Who pays for your housing?
Oh, okay. My caretaking, I receive housing from Lubbock Housing. I receive neighborhood house, which they pay for my utilities and gas, my electricity. And I'm also receiving service for therapy to work on my strength.
Is that physical therapy?
Yes, ma'am.
So you said the Lubbock Housing Authority assists with housing. How much is your rent?
$36.
Okay. And neighborhood housing assists with your utilities. Are you responsible for paying any of those?
No. They pay all year long.
Okay. And then how much do you receive from SSI?
$9.14.
Did you say 914?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Yan, let me ask a quick question. We're still getting some kind of feedback. So are you holding your device?
Yes.
Can you possibly prop it up somewhere where it will be stationary, where we can still see you?
How about there, Judge?
Okay, let's try that. See if that. I'm troubleshooting. I don't know that it's going to help.
I know it's still kind of going on.
Testing, testing. Is it still happening?
I think it sounds better.
It's strange, Miss Sapien, it's almost like it's coming from you.
Well, now I'm hearing it from you as well, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Hey, Bailey, do you and Ms. Yan have this problem when y'all were alone in a breakout room?
No.
The only other thing, Your Honor, that I thought might work is since Mr. and Miss Yan are in the same place anyway, they used to use the same device. So since we now know they're together, why don't they just use the same device? Just be quiet when the other person's talking. Because in a breakout room with Mr. Yan, we didn't have any problems.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think him being muted, and if he's moved away.
That's why I think it's her device.
Anybody have any objection to them trying to be on the same device?
I don't have an objection.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, Miss Yan, I think we were talking about your income and your bills at your home. So is it correct that you get about $914 in a month and your only expense really would be food and then your $36 of rent?
Yes.
How long have you lived in the home you're in now?
Since January 7th of last year, 2022.
Okay. And Miss Yan, you heard all the testimony about your performance during your services. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so which service completed, Miss Yan, did you learn the most from?
I really learned a lot in parenting class, as well as my one-on-one counseling, being able to express my past domestic violence issues and arguments that we have. It's once a week, so I'm able to express a lot with her. And I also really like doing the relapse and safety prevention plan because it helped me open me up about if this happens, what am I going to do? Do I have a backup plan? If I drink, or if I decide I want to go to the liquor store and get something to drink because I'm highly stressed, what are my stressors to my relapse? And who are my support systems to who I could reach out if I felt like I wanted to relapse or I felt like things weren't going right. My safety plan for my children, especially that one, was like a big one for me because being able to express that the past history that I've had with my husband with past domestic violence, I was able to write out a plan and actually make a plan, a safety plan for myself and my children if things got to where a domestic situation had happened and I was able to leave the situation with my children. Who would be there to take us to safety? Where would I go for safety? That was the number one thing that I really learned a lot about being able to.
Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Yan. In your time with your therapist, Holly, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself, if any? I reach out and I trust too many people, knowing that they're only going to turn around and use it against me or use it to hurt me, and to be openly about what happens around in my home. There's a time and place for all of that, and that I've learned to grow within myself. And I've learned new tactic ways of how to express my anger. And I've learned new ways of how to control myself without calling the police or without
physical violence. I've learned new ways of how to communicate with my husband when it comes to a disagreement, or if it got bigger than an argument. I've learned a lot.
It sounds like you have learned a lot, Miss Yan. When this case is closed, Charlie, do you have any intentions of continuing counseling?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm
Okay.
really, and I've talked to my counselor about it, and she's talked to me about it too as well. Even though she's not going to be my counselor, she has also told me it's okay to reach out to her, to talk to her about anything I may be going through.
And these plans that you've created, Charlie, and you've talked about, do any of those plans include how you would keep your child safe?
Yes, my safety plan.
Okay, and what is your plan in keeping your child safe?
Honey, will you give me my paper? Right there. Oh, right there. It's in that folder. My safety plan for me and for my children, like I said, if an argument was to break out, or if domestic violence was to happen, or if he was to relapse and I didn't feel safe, or I didn't feel like that was right for me and my children, my plan is that, I would reach out to my neighbors and let them know what's going on. I would also reach out to my older sister, and I would also reach out to my family support worker, Faye Siegel, who's been with us since January of last year. I would get us to a hotel where everything's safe and to where me and my kids are safe, and my caretakers would know that I'm there and they could come and assist me with myself and my children.
Miss Yan, just a few more things for you. We heard testimony that the department or St. Francis was not able to make contact with Troy Timmons. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you complete your treatment with Troy Timmons?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how do you know that?
Because I did. Because they sent me my completion form of my rational behavior and my anger management.
Okay, and did you provide that to Miss Lane?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me real quickly caution Mr. Yan in the background. He cannot provide answers to you, Ms. Yan. He can't assist you in answering, just like you aren't going to be able to assist him. So
Yes, sorry.
this is your testimony and only your testimony.
Thank you, Judge. Miss Yan, how many rooms are in your house?
2.
And how many, or do you have a bedroom set up for your children?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Miss Yan, has Mickey Lane ever been out to your home?
She has last year, but last year. But she said she had sent another my son's caseworker out to evaluate for her, but her personally, no, not for a while.
Okay. This year, Miss Yan, have the police been called to your residence?
No.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Yan, in the service plan that was prepared for you and that you signed, do you recall saying that you would go to a domestic violence awareness class?
Yes, sir.
And is it correct that you have decided that you don't want to go to a domestic awareness violence class because you felt uncomfortable in that class?
Yes, because the way they were treating me.
Okay. Is it true that in July you called the police and complained that Mr. Yan was violent to you?
Incorrect. I've called the police, yes, but not due to him being violent towards me.
What you call the police for?
Because he hit the air conditioner.
Okay. And was he angry?
No, he was probably mad and upset because he's been out in the heat all day.
Okay. Were you and he arguing verbally?
The morning of.
So the morning of, y'all had a fight, and then he went to work, came back, he's hot and sweaty, and he just punched the air conditioner.
Because I wouldn't let him in.
Ah, because you wouldn't let him in. So he was angry with you.
Wouldn't say angry, frustrated.
Okay. And do you believe that those kind of arguments don't fit into domestic violence categories?
Say that again.
Do you believe that those kind of arguments don't fit into domestic violence categories? I guess my question is, Ms. Yan, was that domestic violence when he became angry because you wouldn't let him in and he punched the air conditioner?
No.
Okay. In September, did you kick him out of the house?
September?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I didn't kick him out.
Okay. In February, did you kick him out of the house?
No.
Did you tell Miss Lane that he left and you didn't want him to come back in the house?
I said that to Miss Lane, yes, because I was upset.
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive, passed yes.
Ms. Lane?
And Miss Yan, did you tell Miss Lane not to give Mr. Yan your current phone number?
Did I tell Mrs. Lane not to give him my current phone number? Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear all of your answer.
Yes.
Okay. And do you consider when you lock the doors and not let Mr. Yan in the house as domestic violence?
No, he has a key.
Well, if you tell him he can't come back in there, should he come back in there even if you tell him no?
I can't keep him from not coming in because this is his house too. He's on the lease.
But you don't think those kind of fights are what we're talking about when we talk about domestic violence?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Different question, different situation, Your Honor.
All out. Ms. Yan, you can answer the question.
Rephrase that again.
You don't think that that kind of situation, when you tell him not to come back in the house, is domestic violence? You don't think that's domestic violence?
Ms. Yan, can you hear
Is she?
us?
She
She looks frozen.
Sorry, everyone.
No problem.
Wi-Fi.
All right, maybe, okay. Do you know where you were? You want Ms. Taylor to look back?
That's fine, Your Honor. I'll rephrase and move on. Miss Yan, do you believe it's okay for Saros to be around when Mr. Yan and you are arguing like that?
I don't believe we would be arguing like that.
So you think that y'all won't argue like that when you have your children in your care?
No, I feel like this whole marriage counseling opens up a lot of emotions for me. And so it opens up like past doors, I'm just gonna say. And I get really emotional and it kind of sticks with me. And so I just feel as though like when we come out of those, we go back to normal. And then one day it just hits me, and I just don't like talking about
Okay.
the past. And
All right. Let me ask you this. In March or April of 2021, were you living in Dakota?
yes,
And did you have a fight with Sarome when Saros was around? Whether it be physical or whether it was just an argument?
I really wouldn't remember that day.
Okay.
Sorry.
And did you have the advocates from North Dakota help move you to Childress to live with your sister?
I reached out to them many of times to help me, but they've never helped me. I had to make my own way down here.
Okay. But you had reached out to them.
I had, yes, but
And you agree with me that in the past, before Texas got involved, there was there was physical violence between you and Sarone.
I wouldn't necessarily put it that way, because if there was physical violence, then why didn't the domestic violent advocates get me and my child out of the home?
Okay. And do you think that your children were in danger in Sarome's home in North Dakota?
Not children,
Okay. Child.
child.
Yeah. Do you think your child was in danger?
Because there was drugs, yes.
Okay. And so would you agree with me that you and or Sarome had placed your child in a dangerous environment in North Dakota?
No, because I myself had reached out to domestic violent advocates and was telling them what was going on. But in their eyes, they didn't see there was domestic violence going on.
Okay, that's
So
not my
no.
question, Ms. Young. My question is, did either you, your husband, or the two of you place your child in a dangerous environment when you were in North Dakota?
I really don't know how to answer that. I really don't, because
Okay, that's enough. Then,
without the drugs,
all right, Ms.
there
Young, that's
wouldn't have been no violence.
okay. But there were drugs, correct?
There were, yes.
And you felt that it was imperative to leave and move to Texas.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this line of questioning as irrelevant. We are here from a Texas case. We've all read the reports. We know what happened in North Dakota, but we are here on a
Judge, I'm trying to terminate on D&E grounds, and those can be used all the way back.
I'm going to overrule the objection. It's relevant. So
you felt it was imperative that you take your child and away from Sarone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in January of 2023, this year, 2 months ago, did you tell either your counselor or Miss Lane that you threw a toolbox at Sarone?
No,
Okay.
I think they misunderstood what I had said.
Okay. And what was it that they misunderstood?
Me throwing a toolbox. I threw a toolbox off of my couch.
Okay. And what were the circumstances where that toolbox got knocked off the couch? Were you angry and fighting?
I had a disagreement with myself, yes.
With yourself or with Mr. Sarone?
With myself, because I was highly upset at myself. and with him because he walked off. So I was in the house and I was upset. Just like he had hit the air conditioner, he was upset.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sean. I'll pass it with Ms. Sean.
Ms. Young, are you currently taking any medications?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask what you're taking?
Judge, do I have to answer that?
Mr. Jackson, I think it would be relevant if there was anything that was mood altering, any kind of psychotropic medication. At a minimum, I think we should go off YouTube if we're going to get into her personal health issues.
And I don't
And it's
have a problem.
it's real, and it's, pardon me.
I don't have an issue with going off YouTube.
All right, Ms. Stevens, Ms. Sapien, Mr. Albee.
No objection, Your Honor.
I don't have any objections, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to stop the live stream then.
Live stream is over the internet. It's live. Everybody can see it right now.
What was the
It's live. It's live. Everybody can see it like in YouTube and stuff.
Judge, how many views do we have? Are we famous?
More than probably what anybody would want.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, I've disabled the chat stuff. So, all right, so we are back on our live stream. All right, then, Mr. Jackson, do you have any witnesses to present today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and Mr. Alley, I can't remember if you said you rest. I think you did, but
I did, but I would like to, before I close, recall Mickey Lane, Your Honor.
okay. All right, Ms. Lane, you are still under oath.
Yes.
Ms. Lane, what is the best interest of this child? What would be the best result in the best interest of these children, or this child, excuse me?
Honestly, the best interest for Saros would be able to be adopted out with parental rights terminated, as they've had a long history of domestic violence that they just can't seem to defeat. That would put her at risk of emotional, physical harm.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. I'll pass with Ms. Sharon.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Ms. Lane?
No, Your Honor.
No.
No, Your Honor.
All right, Department of Rest, close.
Close, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sapien, rest and close.
Rest and close, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Stevens.
Rest and close, Your Honor.
Okay, and other than a recommendation, Mr. Jackson, do you rest?
Rest and close, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, at this time, then I would like to take Mr. Jackson's recommendation, and then we'll hear from CASA.
Your Honor, if I may, I just wanted to remind the court of the testimony of January Hawk that she found from her review of the evidence that there was a continued cycle, not of just domestic violence. That wasn't her testimony. Her testimony was that there was a continued cycle of verbal, physical, emotional, financial, and spiritual intimidation that was ongoing. And she had said that beyond a reasonable doubt, it would not be in the best interest of these kids to be placed, Saros to be placed with her parents at this time. I believe that it would likely result in physical or emotional damage to Rose. Right now, as far as the child is concerned, she's really doing well. She's made huge improvements as to her speech. She still needs some speech therapy. She's about aged out of that. The placement is looking for placement for her, a place to get her therapy. It's my understanding that placement, and I don't know about Mr. Yan, but I know that placement's reached out to Mrs. Yan and has provided her with a Google Voice number and is providing her with pictures. And she has told me, placement has, in no uncertain terms, that if the court goes forward on the termination of these children, they want Rose. Keep in mind that the other child was placed with them too. So her words is that we want these kids to know their parents. We don't want to erase their parents out of these kids' life. And I feel like they're going to reach out regardless of what happens in this case, if to the extent that they're able to. And Judge, based on this evidence that's been presented, and we had 3 experts that said of a continuing cycle of domestic violence, I think it's in the best interest to go forward and terminate the parental rights of these parents and hopefully allow these people placement to move forward with an adoption.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. All right, and Casa.
Well, Mr. Jackson, I agree with everything that he said. I was going along the same lines. I listened to January's testimony, and the cycle of not just the fighting and the arguing and the domestic violence, but just like she had said, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the financially, all of that is a cycle that has been going on for years and years and years. And it just seems like there has not been enough significant change made. And so speaking with the foster family, just like Mr. Jackson said, they very much love these children and want these children, but they very much want their family still involved as well. They want their heritage involved. We have been working with St. Francis on making that happen. That's very important to them that it does happen. So with all that being said, CASA feels like termination is what's best for these children, or for these parents, and for the children to remain where they are.
All right.
Judge.
Yes, Ms. Yan.
Can I speak?
No, I mean, testimony is closed, evidence is closed, so we're done with all of that. All right, y'all give me just a minute. All right, I'm going to make some findings that number one, that we had early contact and active engagement with the child's tribe in this case, and that we did have testimony today by a qualified expert witness from the tribe. I find that there have been active efforts made to prevent the breakup of the family, of what is defined as an Indian family, and that those efforts have been unsuccessful. Therefore, I do find the evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt that custody of the child by the parents, and in particular mom as a member of the tribe, is likely to result in serious emotional and or physical damage to the child, and that there is a causal relationship between the particular conditions in the home that have been supported by the testimony today and the likelihood of serious emotional or physical damage to the child as a result of those conditions in the home. Therefore, I find beyond a reasonable doubt that termination of the parental rights of Charlie Rose Yan and Sarome Yan to the child Saros Yan, based on Texas Family Code Section 161.001, subsection B1, the D, E, and O grounds, and under the best interest under Section 161.001, subsection B2. At this time, I will name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the permanent managing conservator of the child. And I am going to allow some continued post-termination contact between parents and the child. I would like for Ms. Lane to discuss that with placement. From what the child's attorney ad litem is telling me and what CASA is telling me, they are willing to continue that relationship, and I don't have any reason to stand in the way of that. All contact, of course, would continue to be supervised by St. Francis Department, St. Francis, and obviously that can carry forward until adoption. Obviously, anything that might be post-adoption, I have no control over. But Mr. and Ms. Yan, all I can say to you is it sounds like these people are very generous in their attitude. I would do my best to maintain a very good relationship with them. And it seems like they're more than willing. So I think if you meet those folks halfway, you'll continue to have involvement in Saros's life. I can't control what happens in the Lubbock case. But I think if you all set a good example and show that you are cooperative with these people and respectful, of them, I think that goes a long way. I will also dismiss at this time all court-appointed attorneys after the appellate or the de novo and appellate timeframes expire, with the exception of Mr. Jackson. Does CASA wish to remain in the case at this time?
We can. If you think we need to remain, we're good with that.
It's up to you all, whether you think that if you think the child's in a great placement and there's not a concern, then, Ms. Hull, I know you all may have other, fish to fry, so to speak.
Well, we do believe she's in a great home and we're not concerned about that, but we would like to see her through the adoption process and be able to celebrate that with them. So I would say for now to keep us on, please.
All right, I will leave CASA in the case, and Mr. Jackson, obviously, and then, of course, counsel, be advised that your de novo timeframe does begin to run since I've rendered an open court today. And also, please do not file any notice of appeal if you're instructed to do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. All right, I appreciate it. Mr. and Ms. Yan, I wish you all the best of luck. If you're going to stay together, I hope y'all work hard on it. Okay, thank you all. We are in recess.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. You're a trooper today.
Thank you. Judge, I'll see you.
Okay, thank you.